Okay, great. Hi guys.
Hi.
This is how we've written half the show, but we never look this good, like Nandini said. So I'll just introduce everyone, or everyone can introduce themselves. We have collectively written Masaba season 2. This is the writer's room. I am Sonam Nair. I also happen to be the director of the show.
I'm Nandini Gupta. I'm the one of the writers.
Hi, I'm Punya Arora. I'm one of the writers and I'm also a stand-up comedian. I'm Anisha, Raisurana, one of the writers, part of this amazing group of people.
Okay, great. So I just thought we would sit and chat because we chatted so many months about the writing of this and then actually writing it. That now that it's out, I thought we should have one discussion. I don't know who's going to be interested in it, but it's just there. It's just there for whoever's interested or for us to watch like 10 years from now and be like, oh, we were so sweet and innocent. So whatever. It's free to put something on YouTube, so it's fine. So let's start with like what you guys feel was the main messaging that was close to your heart that should go in this season.
I think when we first started talking, we were all very sure that this should be a show about people who just turned 30, like all the emotions and stuff that comes with turning 30, like life-wise, career-wise, love-wise. And we are also a little wiser, hopefully not jaded. And we wanted to show that. And I think Masaba's also kind of figuring a lot of stuff out and making those little leaps in her own life. So it all kind of fit in very nicely, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, for me, when I thought about it, it was like growing up and taking it to the next level in some way, but also a lot more about keeping it very real on working women. And I felt that throughout as we were writing as well. So yeah, that's what I had in mind. Yeah, same. Actually, for me, it was also the same thing in terms of working women. But as we wrote about it, the more and more we talked about it, the theme for me that has become important in my own life was about the balance and about having the scene with Gehna saying that, I mean, ye to basic hai na, ma'am, sab kuch hona chahiye. That's what you should want. For me, eventually, through the course of our discussions, became a very important thing to put out there. Because I know from my own friends in my own life that that's not reasonably, like, we don't really think like that. We just tend to focus on work. So that was important.
Yeah, I think we all went through like a full therapy session with each other and discovered things like as we were writing. Even the story was there that this is going to happen. But all of us were like these people who kept work always in the forefront. Because we came from the generation that it's like we were rebellious and wanted to work and not get married and that was our priority. And then I think while writing, realized like love is important, family is important, what are we doing, and like that feeling came into the screenplay, even though it was already there. But it's like we had to go through it ourselves and write.
You remember that little discussion we had towards the end, about love, essentially. And we were all like, no, this is not it. No, that is not it. We had a breakthrough. We all had a breakthrough moment. Like, this is what happens.
Basically, a breakthrough moment was like, oh, we are the problem. That was the biggest breakthrough moment. Like, it was not like, oh, guys are this or love is this. It was like, what are we doing? Oh, we are doing a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, I think we ended up figuring out so much about ourselves. For me, the funny part is that now when we were watching the show and when you get to the last part where she says, I want to be happy, I've only been in that space in the past few months. And when I watched it, I relived it, like refelt it and felt like, you know how you write notes for yourself somewhere, like, or you find like a 10 rupee note in your jeans pocket and you get happy. It's like your past self has given you a gift. That's how I felt when I was watching the last part where she says, I want to be happy and I want love and whatever, because I'm like, yeah, I want these things. Thank you, past Punya and Masaba writers for doing this.
No, and the thing is, you know, because Sonam has been with the show like for over a year, you know, like she's been working
Is
on
Anisha stuck though? I want to say.
Yeah, my internet keeps getting cut off.
Huh.
One sec.
Now you're fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope it stays. Sorry, I missed the conversation.
Yes, no, so I was saying because Sonam has been with the show for, you know, much longer than we have, you know. We had that little distance. So when we were watching it, we were like, hey,
Yeah.
we wrote all this.
Yeah.
This happened. Oh man. Like because it didn't feel so fresh, you know, like it felt fresh for us. Like we were seeing it for the first time again. And I was like, not bad. We had given ourselves some good advice right there, you know, and it was nice to get that little reminder as well when we were watching it.
Yeah, it's kind of idiotic, but also kind of lovely that we ourselves are getting inspired by.
No, but also it was written during a pandemic, and we were all thinking of a lot of very life-changing and things. A lot of things are coming to the surface in our personal lives. So to have this outlet and to talk about it in this form and be able to revisit it is important. Also,
Oh damn.
Oh, no.
versus who has become now. I don't know if I got cut in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, little bit.
Just give me 1 second. Let me just change to my phone network.
See, now we have to cut all this out.
And you can leave it also.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
Now it's working.
Anisha did always have internet problems.
Yeah. Keep it real.
It happened often, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this should work. Yeah, no, I was saying that because we wrote it during a pandemic, there were so many things that we also probably wanted to remember for the rest of our lives as part of our pandemic learnings. So the show became a good outlet for that in a sense.
Yeah, can I just say how weird it felt sometimes, you know, when we were writing essentially something slice of life comedy, you know, and we were coming up with the jokes, and they're like people dying all around us, you know. And then I think Sonam, you said this, like this is like what we do is important, you know, like the fact that we are going to bring some humor, some joy into someone's life is important, and that was a big push, I think, to keep writing things that sometimes felt frivolous. But I also think that little depth that this season has comes from what was happening around us. You know, like it wasn't a random thought like, oh, is season thora deep banate. Like it happened because we were going through the motion.
Yeah, and we all had grown up a little bit. Like I enjoy this fact that like people give us opportunities and pay us to actually hone our craft. Like I feel like all this time I'm being paid, but actually I'm learning how to do my craft better. And then you know you're evolving, and like you can see that, and it's just like it's nice when people reach out and they're like, this is so mature. It's like you guys have grown up now. Yeah, we have, man.
Yeah.
When we started.
Very publicly grew up.
Yeah, but also we had so much time to write this time, like because of the pandemic only.
Yeah.
And that's true. This time we had a good
For time, you know, lots of pages, you know, lots of discussions. Like last season happened very fast. Like the writing of it happened very fast. We didn't get time to like, you know,
layer it. Yeah.
So this time it was like we ourselves mulled so much before putting anything out there, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like this process taught me like, because I'm very impatient and I'm always like, just get it out and do the next thing. Like I don't understand like what is there to mull about. But because we did this, I think it really helped. And now I'm like, okay, I think, you know, you should write it and then take a break and then add more layers and add more layers and add more layers. Obviously, while directing also, more layers keep getting added according to who you've cast or what's happening that day or whatever. So I feel like, that's why people take long.
It worked. I think it did.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Things evolved also so much because of the type of time we were getting versus what we were initially going to make versus what it eventually became. Ended up being a way more evolved version also.
Yeah.
Also, I loved having that time because it was time away from pandemic things and pandemic thoughts. And this,
Yeah.
this felt like a different world every time we met. So it was nice to have that time, even when we were doing Zoom and when we met in person. It was nice to get away from the world to just have this. So the more time it was taking, it was nice.
Yeah, we got very like addicted to that 1 hour or 3 hours,
Yeah.
whatever that we had.
Look forward to it, yeah.
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 So there was no
Sanity.
human interaction. It was
Yeah.
basically that second wave, or just like the first wave had just ended, and that little middle period we could hang out in person. But then again, at second wave, oh my god!
Second wave was not
And we
for
were just like four girls talking about our ex-boyfriend. In the middle of this horrible.
But that middle portion where we did meet was really special. Like
Yeah.
you taught us how to hula hoop. And we like, we cackled and drank and like hung out in different people's homes. And it was so nice to just get out and meet people you actually enjoy spending time with.
Yeah.
And it was like people don't understand how you can have so much fun and also work, but we were getting work done.
Yeah.
Like we would drink and chat, and every now and then I feel like I had to, or someone, Anisha had to be like, okay guys,
Anisha.
let's come back to the
Because I was enjoying writing too much.
so,
We were on the verge of something great.
yeah, but out of those conversations, like some details come, and then you're like, oh yeah, man, like that should go in there. So I think all of us put so much of ourselves that.
Which is, it wasn't work, which is why I think it feels hopefully a little authentic and honest in the way that it's written also, because it was a very us putting our honest selves onto paper and not thinking of it as at this moment, act two, like we weren't being technical about it. We were just like, these are our real feelings. Here you are in story
Everyone
form.
knows now. Like someone can play the guessing game. Like, is this Sonam's trauma or Anisha's or Punya's?
Okay, so on that note, we can start. Like, I wanted all of us to just talk about like one scene or one sequence that was like close to your heart or felt extra personal to you. So we can start with Punya.
Yeah, I'll start with this one that was very, very personal. And I even had a few people message me and say like, dude, this is you. You've done this. So I'm going to talk about the Kainat segment. Mainly because this is something that I personally been going through in terms of comedy, in terms of my comedy career, wherein I'm a live stand-up comedian. I do live shows. I perform live on stage, and I'm saying live again and again is because through those years of working on stage and getting like from your 5 minutes to your 10 minutes to your 15, it took time to getting to your 30 minutes. And suddenly digital took over. Like in those years of getting to a certain place in comedy, digital took over. Influencers came out of nowhere, and everyone is good. A lot of them are very good, very funny, very snappy, very quick, making these fun videos. And I felt one, old, two, forgotten, three, felt like there was some race and I'm getting left behind, because I didn't catch up. I didn't catch up fast enough, and I was still in that zone of live stand up, and everything is online. And I tried to make reels. I still try to make reels, and it doesn't work as well. So this is something that I felt that maybe other people in other careers and professions go through as well, because we've seen everything go digital. Like even doctors are making reels to tell you about medicines now. So everything has become digital. If you're an actor, you're an influencer. If you're a doctor, you're an influencer. So as long as you're an influencer with your profession, it works much better. So that's where I felt like keeping that in mind, if Masaba has been designing for so long, there can be that stage where there is an influencer who's come in and she's put some cool stuff together, thrown some stuff together in her house and put it online, gone viral, and that's that. Like she's got the next big fashion show, ye kal ki aayi ladki, bas taken over in her 20s. And that's sort of where this came from.
And the name was also your
The name, I remember I was hesitant to give it because we were all four thinking of names and saying names out loud. And I was like, guys, I have a name which I want to be my future daughter's name. And I know Sonam was like, say it, we'll see. And I remember saying Kainat with a Q. And it fit. I mean, you're right, it worked.
Yeah.
And so that's how the name came about. Is this was supposed to be my future daughter's name, which now honestly I don't mind because the character is like my daughter.
Yeah.
So this whole segment, I was very happy that we included it as well, because I know this is something that even people who are not talking about are really going through. I see this stress of like number of followers and number of likes and thing in conversations all around, in people from different professions all around. So I'm really happy we included that. Also, I'm extremely happy that two things. One is Karima brought life to that character, like
Insanely good.
Just so
just beyond my imagination. And another thing is, this is my favorite line, which I have been saying for a while, and people used to think I was weird for saying it, where I was a big fan of this one comedian, and I said I wanted to marinate in her aura. And I'm so glad
that
that
was your line. I thought that Nandini came up with it for some reason.
Punya,
no. I said it. I even know because I said it about this comedian called Demi Lardner, and I watched her on YouTube for the first time, and I saw her video, and I didn't know what else to say because it was just that I wanted to marinate in her aura, and I'm so glad that this line has made it and reached the right places, because it's the perfect way to describe when you want to just imbibe somebody's everything into you.
I remember Punya came up with this in her little house in Bandra where we were right. And we were all doing the Kainat voice, trying to figure out how she sounds,
You are so old because you're like, these kids, they were always like thinking of what do these kids talk like? What do they do?
I think that's the first time I really felt old though. Like till then I was like, I'm also one of them only. It's the same, whatever. But that,
yeah.
Because the rest of the characters are more age appropriate for us. Or Jito, I think like, she's ageless, so it doesn't like you don't have to think about her when writing. But this young character, we had some trouble. Thank God Karima knew how to say it.
When she stuck out her tongue in that scene, iconic.
Because she was nervous, so she stuck it out because she forgot her line or something. So I kept it in the end.
That is the best addition. That is the best.
Good job, Karima. So cool. Then Nandini.
So yeah, my trauma has been turned into joy and relatability for everyone.
So now if you name your child Kainat, people will think you've named it after the show. And they'll be like, no bitch, I created that character.
Yeah, abhi wo dekhenge, abhi wo.
I love Kachra with the Q. I mean, that fashion show segment was just so hilarious. And listen, so much.
He was good. He really was a good sport. He really made fun of himself.
Like, that entire portion where we're like, thoda or, tears now, big laugh, small laugh. I mean, he was so good in it. And that little Masaba's bitchy side.
Oh, she killed it in there.
Yeah.
But can I just say with the way this segment ended, Sonam, you came up with that you said that Devdas wala line. That what Jia says to Masaba.
Yeah.
And for me, that helped me actually when you said that कि कायना तो फूल झड़ी की तरह है and तुम देवदास तुम
पारों में देवदास में पारों की दिया की तरह ही रहोगे.
And that helped me actually with the whole segment, because when initially obviously when I had the whole Kaina thing was something I was going through, but when you said that I was like, yeah dude, I mean that's what I am. Yes, exactly. So that helped me, and I think that's something that maybe a lot of people needed to hear as well.
Also, Punya, we love your reels. Okay, so
Make more reels.
yeah, make more reels. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now let's go on to Nandini and her most prized scene, which is I think most people's most prized scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, smack in the middle of pandemic, it wasn't very difficult to get this scene. Is that Gia's depression angle, and I think we were all going through some form of it during that time. I mean, we'd be lying if we said we didn't, And I remember it was that was full therapy, that entire segment, because we were all talking about like really private, difficult shit that we all went through, and 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 there was a lot of back and forth. Like, should she have a reason to have that
Yeah.
depression, or should she not? And the thing is, it never needs a reason sometimes. And the fact that it was Gia who you saw was like so lively and so fun and this and that, it can happen to her. And someone as aware and woke as Masaba could miss it, which
Yeah.
is like your closest friends often don't get to see it or understand it before it's like late. And I thought it was important to point that out as well. One of my favorite moments is when Masaba says, "I'm not qualified,"
Yeah.
when she says, "You're here, no, for me," and she says, "I'm not qualified," and that was very important to put out, because as friends you can be there, for someone who's going through it, but you're not there to diagnose them, you're not there to advise them, you're there to hold space, you're there to like say that I'm around, I've got your back, you need me to sit with you and do nothing, I'm there for you, that as a friend you can do. But to say that, listen, let's get you professional help, someone who's earned a degree and knows the job, that was a very important friendship moment for them as well,
I
and
think the inclusion of this also came from the fact that after season one, we got a little bit of flack for the Pooja Bedi character, which is that star wife healer,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which obviously was just a fun person who Masaba, an actual life, went to like a therapist kind of person who basically wasn't qualified and was talking shit. But yeah, I think a lot of people were like, it's really fun, but why have you shown mental health as like a joke? And that wasn't obviously our intention. But then, like, I remember when thinking of what the story beats need to be, I was like, somewhere we have to tackle it in a better way, because you have to like do better than the previous thing you've done. So, and that time Ritasha was putting up some posts on her Instagram about her dealing with some tough times or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like, should Gia have depression? I mean, it's like too close to real life. And when I
Meta.
told her, yeah, when I told her, like, listen, Gia has depression this time, she's like, basically, you based it on my Instagram. So it's because all of us were going through a bad time anyway,
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
expecting it. But I feel like now with all the positive feedback about how we all dealt with this subject, I think it's feeling like the mistakes of the first season have been really corrected. That's
And
Also,
also,
sorry.
like, no, sorry, Anisha, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna continue from what both of y'all are saying. In that, one was we were careful in terms of what we're putting out there and what we're saying about it. We did a lot of back and forth on not making it like you were saying that the friend is the one who is helping her, or not making it that we're underplaying or overplaying it. So there was a line, but I was just gonna add that Ritasha, I mean, even in the acting, there could have been a line which was this way and that way. Although we were careful in our writing, in the acting it could have gone wrong. But she
Elevate.
really elevated, and how, like that moment when she does ultimately break down when the vegetables fall, that was so beautifully done and believable that whatever fears we might have had about this not coming across in a sensitive way were completely allayed by her depiction of it also. So that was actually very interesting to see as a writer how much the acting can add on to what you've written. That was nice.
yeah,
Like,
Natasha is like she's such a good actor but she's most nervous. Like she just is the most nervous of all the actors. Always like, how I'm going to do the scene? Why have you given me this scene? This is so difficult. Like that, or the party scene.
Sorry.
Very difficult scene for her to make that drunken kind of off speech and all of that. And then this we shot the second day of shoot.
Oh
So we weren't
man.
even in the groove yet. It was still kind of very pandemic-y. And the first day of shoot was the PQ scene and the bedroom scene. And the second day was this kitchen scene. And it was a heavy scene to start with. And I was like, are we getting the tone right? It was a bit like scary to shoot this important scene so up front. But I think early on we decided no tears, no actual crying, just pre-crying shaking. And then I was like, now just do what you gotta do, man. Like it's there on paper. We'll see.
In fact,
Really good.
that moment where, even when we're writing, it's very weird. It's like starts crying. It's like I don't want to see it. We are so uncomfortable with it, even to write it. But I remember, and Sonam, you came up with this, like this thread where we were taught, like this whole thing about how we have to be brave. We're taught to be brave and like put up a front and like, we're strong women, we've got this, and that's also like a generational thing passed on to us, we're like, we have to be strong if we have to survive, we have to seem like we've got it together. And the thing is, like, some people can do it, like say Masaba is a very functional depressive, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Gia, even when she sees that in her friend, like, man, you have it together. I don't. Like, how come you're doing so much and I'm doing nothing? And she's like, oh, I'm fucked.
I'm running away. Yeah.
No, I'm not dealing with anything. And just to even hear that, like, oh, you're both fucked is kind of I think that honesty is very important also in friendships, like, because you could be the closest of friends, but because the inner voice is working full time when you're depressed, like everything around you seems against you, or everything, you get really cynical. So just having that communication, that conversation was a very important moment in both those characters' lives, and I think everyone, to have that moment of relief that, oh, it's out now, I can say it, and I can share this with someone, and I'm not alone, which is what we said. And again, Dhairya comes back,
It's just like the whole, I mean, everybody is being brave or like learning what it means to be brave. I mean, that's my own personal agenda, is to like push courage as a theme or like a message. And like I felt like we went through so many combinations of like, what do we want to say about mental health? Because it was like, should we say that things occur, you need, I don't know, there were so many, I don't even remember all the combinations, but the main thing, what is there to be said? And I think we really cracked it also with the whole show. And this one thing is that talking about it is brave. And what you said, Nandini, that your friend is not qualified. Like these two things really, I think, have hit home. Thank God. Because there were like 100 combinations of that scene.
Punya, sorry.
I also like when you, towards the end where she says, how was your first therapy session? I also like that was kept very real. It was weird at first. Because I think that's something that a lot of people have had in their mind. Like even this is when I first considered going to a therapist, healer, whatever, my first thought was like, how will the first one go? Because that one you feel it's going to be so awkward, and what do you say, what do you not say? And so I really liked that, that was, she very nicely went. It was a little weird at first, and then we spoke, and it wasn't like, like immediately
he's fine now after one session.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that Masaba's response in that is that give it some time, not to like take an instant call on it. And I like that we brought that out as well. I feel like that was also very important.
I have to say something in regard to this. Like that freezing eggs wala portion, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, later. But there's that moment where Neena ji says, "Jia, tu bhi karwa le,"
Ah,
and she says, "My therapist just told me to take some time for myself and be there for me, and ye eggs wags hoga if at all, it doesn't matter." But that is like for her to even say that out, because you're always like masking, putting up a front,
yeah,
like, yeah, maybe I should also, and make a joke, but she, for the first time you see her being real,
yeah. She's like, this
Yeah.
is the actual reason why I can't do it. I'm not gonna make a joke about it or anything.
yeah.
Diluted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shows that there has been some progress in her therapy or whatever, perhaps. Yeah,
Nice.
But through all of that, she was a great friend to Masaba, which was
for
also.
sure.
Yeah.
She
That-
was.
But the fear
She
was
was
that,
great.
fear was we have so many things going that suddenly, why is Gia depressed? Like, I just didn't want that question to come.
No, but it's true. I think it's authentic also. Even in your most depressed times, this person does mean something to you. So
Yeah,
I don't think it was wrong to show it like that. I think it was heartwarming to see, and also Masaba also, her character also realized that despite all of this, she's really shown up for me. Uh,
yeah,
and that happens. Those things happen.
We were kind of very mindful of throwing in those Easter eggs saying
yeah.
things not
And
okay.
I remember like a couple, my
Yeah.
friend in LA, Rit, was watching each episode and then calling me and telling me what he felt. So around episode 3, he started feeling like, hey, I'm getting worried about this Gia. And then episode 4 at the party, he was like, dude, she's obviously going through some mental health issue, right? And I was like, good catch. Coming in episode 5. So then I felt like, oh, okay. If from then only you are feeling like it, then it's okay, it's good.
Yeah, and also the way Masaba reacted to her, her like that little moment in the party was not great.
Yeah, not kind.
Yeah.
Not kind. And I think for her also to say, okay, listen, I know I've not been there for you,
Yeah.
was kind of important. Maybe a little more next season. she,
But like you said, Nandini, I think Masaba's reaction thing, like you said, sometimes your closest friends miss it.
yeah,
And that I think was super important as well.
yeah, and she was then thinking about herself,
Yeah.
her like did not need this distraction. And then she was like, dude, how did I miss this? That moment also happens, which is
Yeah.
a real feeling. You're like, man, it was there in front of my eyes all along. Like, and she's my best friend. How did I miss it?
Yeah.
But the good thing is that you realize that, you're aware of that, and you kind of do something about it.
Yeah, and don't like forget it.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to my favorite scene?
Yeah.
There are so many,
Iconic.
honestly,
Yeah.
but I think this was the most fun to write. And every time we would read back episodes, we would be like, let's read the scene out loud. Because it's so fun to just
Empowering. It was
read it out
empowering.
loud. Is when Masaba tells Fateh to fuck off because he's a fuck boy. Like, oh my god, what a cathartic moment for all of us. For
Iconic.
Iconic.
And I was trying to think this morning, like, when did that first come about? And I think it came about, it wasn't planned. Like, it was, like, I think we were thinking, this I knew that, she's doing shadi and she has some vibe going with the groom. But then we were like, oh, he'll be like a beautiful, like, Fawad Khan type, and he'll be like this, like,
Charmer.
unbelievable guy or whatever. And I swear to you, when I was writing that pitch to Netflix, when I'm just writing like a 2-pager or something, just writing it, I wrote it that he turns out and she's to fuck off. It just like, I was like, oh, okay. Like
Where did that come from?
it was not something that we had thought we'll make it about a fuck boy versus whatever. It was literally like, that triangle
real
where
dilemma.
there is a initial like strong connection with someone and someone who's like kind of seems like sweet and thanda or whatever, and what do you do between that? But then this, I think from that scene, then we had to work backwards and be like, because all of us, I think whenever we read it, we were like, this scene is awesome. So now let's figure out who is Fateh, what is his vibe, what is his deal. And I feel like all of us like really let out a lot of anger that we had even with ourselves. Like in that whole Masaba is also like, dude, I am also dumb. What am I doing? Like, what am I falling for? And like this is not okay, basically, what is going on. And now it's gone to a point where it feels like really cheap and just fuck off, basically. I feel like in that scene, like a couple of lines that really like get the CT moments out is like one when he's like giving her some bedroom eyes. He's like, you know, fuck the wedding. I just like wanted to kiss you. And she's like, ho gaya?
Sonam, talk about the what?
The what? Like basically, when I literally today's 8th August and tomorrow is my birthday, 9th August. And last year on 9th August, we shot this scene. We shot the whole wedding, the scene with Nicole upstairs, her bedroom scene with Gia on the phone, then this scene, then a balcony scene with Dhairya, voice messaging, whatever. That whole thing was my birthday last year. And I was so excited that on my birthday, I'm shooting my favorite scene. And I told Arman, you gotta bring it because it's my birthday gift that you bring the drunken fuckboy eyes. I need to see in your eyes that you are drunk and you have that lusty thing going. It's just a face. Like she opens the door and I need to see that face and you know what face I'm talking about. And he's like, I'll bring it, Sonam, I'll bring it. And my God, he was doing it so well that I wanted to slap him in the middle of shooting. And like my blood was crawling.
Oh
like, when I was seeing the monitor, I was like, dude, he's doing such a good job. I really would go punch him right now. But he really got that eyes and the what and the what's happening kind of vibe so well.
Everybody's heard the what in there.
Yeah. And like the fact that he like takes a little moment, extra moment to catch on, it's like awesome. And then you know that thing about like I'm 20s, man, I would have been flat, but now I'm a grown ass woman.
Yeah.
Romance from bullshit. Like this was us telling our younger selves, like basically you were dumb. Now don't fall for this.
And those connection lines.
Yeah, and whatever connection you had, you just cheapened it by showing her drunk and horny. Aisha deserves better, and so do I.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I brought in the theme music. Only once does it come in the whole show. And it's at this point because I was like, Masaba's back. Like, you know, she was like really faltering in that episode. And now she's like back at herself, like being herself. So yeah, that was really satisfying. And it was supposed to be a hook point. Like it was actually supposed to be at the beginning of the last episode. But I think in the edit, I just like felt like that chapter needs to shut now. I just felt like irritated that he was coming in the seventh one. The seventh one starting with that pool and her just clear-headed was a greater thing. But yeah, what do you guys feel about Fateh's character? Like what Arman did with it? Like
I feel like it was done so well in the portrayal also that for a long time you fall for it. Even though I knew all the beats, when I was watching it, I was falling for it. I was like, this guy's really charming. They should really kiss. Even during the writing, I kept waiting for the kiss to happen because that is how it is. These people that we're talking about can be very charming. And every argument that we've written between, or not even every, that one argument that we've written between Masaba and Fateh also, you are on both sides.
Yeah.
Because you respect him putting his feelings out there and you respect her also kind of having to protect herself a little bit. Because the other thing that we discussed in the writers' room was also you always know instinctually at some level, you always know, but you don't listen to it because the charm overrides the knowing.
That is the attractive part almost.
Oh, that's the attractive
part. It's wrong, it's off.
Yeah.
Something about that is like very
I have to talk about that case that did happen because throughout the Kashmir episode, when it starts, you see that they kind of, there is chemistry, and she's like, oh, this guy, there's more to him than meets the eye, and he's really laying it on thick, and like Anisha said, in a very believable way, where you're like, I feel for this dude, like, what if he didn't have that? What if? That thing that goes on, like, what if he didn't have to get married? What if he was single? What if he was free? Who would he have been? There's that, she's kind of building this guy in her head as well. And I think the more real he gets, like, by the time the kiss happens, it's more like a violation. It doesn't feel nice, and he keeps asking her and keeps pushing her, and you can see her like shutting. It's like, I don't know why, I don't know what, but basically that's her gut saying that, don't do it, this is not okay. And then later she's like, women usually know.
Yeah.
It is that moment where her body is telling her, no, this is not okay. Like, it might have been a cute little fantasy in her head, but when it got real,
Yeah, basically that
Yeah.
it was fine as a fantasy, but
yeah,
really she didn't want,
Yeah.
he didn't want it, and he is a
Which
fuck
might be like now an argument against her character also. Like, what is this? You're like giving mixed signals basically.
yeah.
And now that it's
Yeah.
happened, you don't want it. But then he basically, when she backed away a little bit after the kiss, he should have stopped at that. Then you feel fair. Like it's okay.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
then turning up.
When he comes back, I think
That face that you said.
I think that was a cathartic moment for her character as well, where she also feels like, did I lead this on? Is it my fault that this moment happened?
Yeah, till then it's great. But then after
Yeah.
that, you know your line, buddy. Yeah.
I enjoyed the most at that point where all of us spoke about our scenarios, our exes, our past. That in itself in the writing session, not going to air anything, but that in itself in the writing session was very cathartic. And also that the thing that Masaba says is how when we were talking, we were like, yeah, ये बोलना चाहिए था तब.
Yeah, actually, हम लोग
Yeah,
किसी ने ये बोला नहीं.
Oh, I'm glad somehow हम चारों ने यहाँ बोल दिया है ये.
I'm really hoping that my spineless exes watch this. Because, yeah.
I think now though I will just send this scene only to, if anything needs to be said, I will just send the scene. मैं बात ही नहीं करने वाली. I'll just take it sent. Everything is done.
Like,
Sent.
you shown up all drunk and horny, and you're like, 1 second.
One second.
I have this timestamp ready.
Yeah, please.
I
Now
also,
that we've discussed Fateh, let's go over to our favorite Theria.
yes,
I
oh
wanted to
man.
talk about
So I,
green flag boy.
yeah, absolute man made up of green flags who nobody finds attractive initially, obviously, because we are suckers for red flags. But I joined the writing. I mean, I worked on season 1 very little bit, but on season 2, I joined y'all from the beginning, and I had already watched season 1, and I was already a team Dhairya. Although y'all didn't write it in a way where there was anything directly romantic happening between them, I already came in with very like pro Dhairya feels.
Basically, a crush on Neil / Dhairya.
I'm trying not to say that, but yes.
You can just say it.
Yeah, I felt like the character was so balanced and mature, but had like this dorky, awkward quality on what is objectively, I would say objectively, good looking guy. So I thought that there was definitely like fun to be had with this character. And I also feel like parallel to all our fuckboy realizations and all the things that we thought we should have said, but we didn't say, we were also realizing what we do want in
Yeah.
our lives. We were
Yeah.
also kind of figuring out and giving definitions and names to the things that we actually do want because we were outgrowing some of our toxic behaviors and patterns. So for us, what ended up probably being a very nice way of summarizing it was like Dhairya was the guy who stayed. And the scene where after the main character, after Masaba hears about Wendell's death, and after previously she's had a fight with Dhairya because she feels like he's not on her team with regards to her designs, and Aisha didn't like it. And he's like, of course, she's the bride. You should have made it about her. So there had been what could be seen as a major ego clash happening there. But then Wendell passes, she hears about Wendell passing and she's broken. And despite all of the ups and downs the relationship had gone through between them, he's there for her, not just to the point of dropping her, but he comes back. And he not only comes back, he stays. And I remember with Dhairya's character, we always had the conversation of, is this feeling too sweet? Is this feeling not real? But people like that exist for sure. And somebody who's mature and secure, which I think Dhairya's character is, does exist. And that also needs to be portrayed without romanticizing it too much, without still giving him the self-respect that he deserves to have, without like him also being too sweet beyond the point. So I think the balance of all of that really landed in the scene the next morning when he has stayed, because he is that secure guy and he does want to be there for her. But because of her own conditioning, she misinterprets his intentions. And it leads to, again, what I hope came across as a very real conundrum for both people, where she wants to take it now, after all of this, she wants to take it forward and kiss him, but he wants to be respectful. But she's not going to see it like that. He's just going to think I'm being rejected. He's like, this is humiliating. And he's like, I want to respect her boundaries because I'm a mature person, unlike all the other fuckboys in her life. So I felt like, although it was a tricky scene in the sense that, again, with the acting and with the writing, there was a danger of it going a line, like a little ahead of the line than it needed to go, where you could have been pissed off with Dhairya for even hugging her. You could have been upset with Masaba for trying to go for a kiss at that moment and the way she reacted. But it came from a lot of our own, we also talked about like a lot of our own abandonment issues versus like trust issues with respect to thinking that somebody actually wants to be there for you, and with respect to allowing somebody else to be there for you and not saying, no, I'm cool.
Sure that you will become dependent on them.
Yes.
Yeah. What
So
will happen?
all of, yeah. So I felt like that was a turning point in the relationship, which was like a false ending in a sense. They could have kissed and it lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
But it only led to, she still had stuff to learn. She still had to kind of go a long way, go to Kashmir, have her experience with the fuckboy, meet her friend when she's going through depression, understand that you need to be there for someone. And it's not weak to ask for help. Yeah. So everything that happened to her later after this scene was slightly influenced by the conversation that Dhairya and her had, without Dhairya laying it out for her, being preachy about it. Yeah. He just says that it's okay to allow someone to be. And I'm like, I have goosebumps talking about it because I love him.
I also love the fight they have on the phone that end of the day. Now she's learned some lessons and she's like, come back, and she's like, Chalo, let me call him. He's left his glasses.
Yeah.
Then she's like, why did you pull away? Yeah. He's like, I was being disrespectful. And she gets annoyed again.
Yeah.
It's like you don't learn your lessons so fast also. Now she's been through a day and she's like, she wants to like be better, but now she can't help being irritated basically. And I love that because I feel like that's one of the places where we show women as being like just irritating and men trying to do the right thing and nice, and they're just like confused. They're like, "Ye ladki ko chahiye kya?"
I remember when we wrote that, like, I don't know what you want. We were all like, oh shit, we really confused.
What do we want?
I'm so confused right now. And then the father says, man, what's like?
He's like, man, what is... And I told Neil when we were doing that scene that you are representing a lot of men, because in my interaction, they are always just confused. What do these women want? I just don't get it. Like all of them are just constantly confused. Except for the fuckboys. They know exactly what women want.
They are purposely confusing. That's
they confuse you. Yeah.
But you know, like that scene towards the end, which I know is like a rom-com trope or whatever, when she goes running to him at the end.
The last scene,
That last scene, that conversation was like I said, a very cathartic moment for all of
Yeah.
us. Like we talked about abandonment issues, we talked about trust issues, and it was more of Masaba's moment than theirs. But am I there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
No,
was,
it was a
sorry. I was just adding to that, saying it was also a Masaba seeing Dhairya moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think, and Sonam, please talk about the shooting of this. Is like that moment when they actually confront each other, where he says, "I can't do this anymore." I
Oh,
have
that scene.
rewatched that scene like so many times because Neil is amazing in it,
Yeah.
and it's such a. I love that during that entire scene that Daria's voice doesn't go up even once. I mean, he doesn't make it ugly. He could have easily made it ugly, but the way he handles it is just so beautiful. I mean, I love that scene.
I
I
think
couldn't
that
Yeah.
believe
scene,
he wrote that.
yeah, the breakup scene. Basically, I think we wrote it, but while writing it, it didn't feel like such an
We
amazing
didn't know.
scene to
Yeah,
us.
Yeah.
Like,
that
we were
was
like,
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
while shooting it, I actually yelled a lot on set and said, I need silence and I need everybody to get out and I need an hour with the actors before we even start shooting. I need this. Because you do readings or whatever, but I wanted like in the space. I wanted that movement of he gets up, he grabs a file, he gives her the investment, he sits down, he takes his glasses off, he puts them back on. All of that movement. So it was very like kind of like I was just left alone with the set, the props, and you think that this is what happens on every day of shoot, but it's not. We're shooting like crazy. Like I just told you, like the wedding and 5 other scenes were shot of the same day. That's how these work. So we had one day of Dhairya's office shoot, and this one scene I knew like needed like kind of the small beats to come, and I needed to like do it up like at least 15 times to see exactly what was happening. So we did like a play, like we just did a rehearsal like 15 times, something 1 hour. That I was like, oh, in this word you lift up the thing, and in this thing you lean forward. Like all of that was choreographed, which I rarely do that much nitpicking. And then we shot it, and we had like a nice scene breakdown also for once. It wasn't like just cover it and get lost. Like we had like a nice 2 shot for when he's offering the thing. We had like a close up for when he's just like, we had a nice wide shot pulling out for when she's left him. Like everything was kind of just fell in place. But I still was like, okay, anyway, it was early on in the shoot and moved on with life. And then Yashua editor, when she was editing the scene, then I walked in and I was like, how's it going? And she's like, Sonam, this scene is so amazing. I cried, and I was like, she's like, it's so mature and it's so grown up, and how is this happening, and their performances and all the nuances and all that. And I was like, hey, is it a really good scene? Like, oh, it's only on edit because Yashu said. I was like, oh, let's like look at how good it is. And I feel like many people and many many men, okay, like at least 3-4 guys have told me that they have cried during that scene. I feel like that's from a man's, just one of the few ones which is heavily more from a man's perspective than a woman. Like obviously you see Masaba also going with starry eyes and just like her heart crushing, but it's more like Neil's like heartbreak that is just like there. Neil had cried in the reading of the scene also. So I guess guys really have this feeling, man.
But somehow
Neil had cried
watching
during
that,
the reading, and I
sorry.
think Arman, the guy who played Fateh, was just like, I'm also Team Dhairya.
Yeah. He's sweet only. He's also
He's not
For
a
me,
fuck boy.
yeah, he's not a fuck
for
boy.
me, watching that, the breakup scene was when I went like, I want a Dhairya in life. That
Ah,
scene.
I think
God.
because you only know a person's character when you are breaking up or
Yeah.
when they are
When things are
Under
harder.
pressure.
Yeah.
pissed
Yeah.
with you. Yeah, that's when you see the real dignity.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
know how people break up, because I always have really mature, very sit down and talk about it. There might be fights earlier or later, but the actual breakup is always very like calm and this is what it is and kind of sad. So I was like, it's not, it has to be a little bit like mature. I don't know what you're doing out there.
Well, I've had immature ones, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think like one level can still be, still have like good, clean feelings for, you know, that there was this kind of a nice breakup, you know. What else? I think one thing that we didn't touch upon is that all the different types of like motherhood elements that we have put in, like whether it's of course Nina Ji and Masaba, the thought of a pregnancy test, single mother, Nicole's character being pregnant, which was totally a last moment memory. Or like how Gia and Masaba like will raise kids together, like freezing of the eggs, like I think that was a big theme, which again wasn't like a fully like.
But I think it was, I think it was nice that it was there throughout, because again, as a very real thing that women in their 30s are going through, sometimes, a lot of times when they're single still, but the thought of, shadi ka thought to rehta hi hai, but that other thought of, you know, because you've had, especially if you're in a Punjabi family, without asking marriage, they've directly, once you've crossed 30, they directly go to tumhare ande sar rahe. So that you're reminded constantly of your biological clock ticking. At some point, it seems like, you know, people around you don't even care कि तुम किससे कर रहे हो शादी, क्या कर रहे हो, बस बच्चा कब पैदा करोगे, kind of thing. And it's not that you're dying to बच्चा पैदा करो, but there is a thought in your mind, that thought of, well, do I want to be a mother? Do I want to become one? Do I want this as something in my life? I'm still at this place in my career. Is this something that I need to worry about immediately? Is it something that I need to, I've not even found somebody now, instantly do I have to like, will he be the guy? So it is something very, very real. And I'm so glad, Sonam, you brought up the egg freezing thing. And I'm so glad because it's also a very normal, natural thing that people are doing now. And again, not very...
I did it. I did it.
You did it. And again, not very talked about, I think. Like it's the way it's done in the show is the way I'm seeing it around us as well, where it's like a little bit of a conversation and parents are sometimes a little taken aback and they're just like, you know, but why? But they come around to it being like, you know, it's actually a good thing that you're keeping your options open. So I love that way that it's been handled, because I'm sure like y'all have had these conversations and thoughts, and so have I. And this is something at this age which really, really comes about, the do I want to be a parent thing.
I think that the fact that, you know, that choice exists, you know, and that there is no demonizing the other, you know, like if you choose to have a kid, great. If you don't choose to have a kid, also fine. However you want to do it, it's your choice. And I think that's what we want to say. Like there shouldn't be judgment about how what we choose to do with our bodies, you know, and whether we want to be mothers, whether we don't want to be mothers, that's entirely up to us. It's just that this is a great option for if you're not sure, you want to do it in the future, that's a choice. And I think this fact that we're not advocating for one particular kind of lifestyle. What we're advocating for is a choice to do whatever you want to do, you know.
And that balance thing of like, if you want to be able to balance both, like nowadays, obviously the later pregnancies are happening because women are working all the time. And so there's like that thought is not coming, like you want to also establish your career and you want to like focus on yourself, and then, but the eggs have not been told that. The fact that now you can earn enough to pay for egg freezing and, you know, do that, and or earn enough to become a single mother, or earn enough and be like, you know what, fuck marriage and children and all that. I'm just gonna like enjoy my own money and like
be a cool
like so. The fact that like even that we in the end connected to when Ninaji says you are independent, you have your own business, you have so many people working for you, you can raise a child and do it also. Like it's because of your work that you have these choices. So like, you don't have to choose between work and marriage and family basically.
But even in terms of what it means to be freezing your eggs. We had that conversation, and I remember having a conversation and hearing your point of view, Sonam, talking about why you've done it. Because for me, instinctually, and this is probably how a lot of people think, I was like, are we trying to show that she's given up? And you presented your perspective, which was the choice thing that you're talking about. So I feel like I was saying with depression, where we were very conscious about what is it that we're trying to put out, what are we trying to say. With this, hopefully what we've tried to say opens up people's minds to remove a little bit of prejudice from this also.
Yeah, especially how Neena ji says it very colloquially that at least तुम गलत आदमी से तो शादी नहीं करोगी कि बच्चे करने हैं and all that. Actually make the right decision, So that I think matters.
And I think that conversation with that generation was also very important. The fact that there was so much friction initially, how they see the world and how she sees the world. That in fact, I really like that scene in the bathroom where they're talking, and she's like, Mom, zamana badal gaya hai. And she's like, utna bhi nahi badla.
Yeah.
And well, with Roe v. Wade and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going back.
That's true.
Yeah, we're going back. And people are
the bathroom scene also we wrote like about 10 times.
Oh
we kept writing and rewriting.
I think getting that sur was right. I mean, without seeming like Neena ji's, she doesn't understand.
Yeah, or giving her too much of a lecture.
Yeah. But she's presenting her point of view because she's been through it. And that was a great moment when she says, life has changed. It's like, no, it's not really.
I think all arguments or whatever, we always try to see that both sides are
equally valid.
Like, you can always see the points on both sides, which is hard to do. But
and not make it like preachy and like ye jhanda, and that. I mean, that happens.
That's my worst nightmare to have like.
I mean, it's like not that all of us are feminists. We know that, but we don't need to like do that.
It's like it's just about representation, and I feel like it's like just to show cool, working, powerful women, different types of women, different physicalities, different like personalities. That's good enough. That's like all that's needed because men are shown in so many different ways, but women are shown in like 3 ways.
And even like, I remember the first season, I remember there was a little bit of criticism about not addressing the fact that Masaba is half black, and things like that. And I remember you were very clear about it, that we want to show her as she is, and without it being like this little cross she bears constantly.
Yeah, basically my thing was like, and see, this time nobody's brought it up because I didn't want to other her. Like, she's different from us. I'm like, what are the things that are similar? I feel this philosophy that if you to bring people together, it's nicer to show all the similarities than to show, like all of these like crazy rich Asians or my big fat Greek wedding or like whatever, these kind of where you're showing a different, very mainstream things with different cultures become big because you feel like, oh, this is us only. If it's too alien or you're like, oh, this girl had a very particular story of her own, then you're just like, okay, like I don't connect to her.
I mean, I'm sure she did. But this is who she is now, and this is after many years of processing many different things, and this is who she's become. And even when we used to talk to Masaba and Neena ji about it, they are pretty much these people, in when it comes to how they carry themselves publicly, and that with a fair amount of dignity and grace. I'm sorry, I have to pause because the bell has rung.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up now.
Wait, I'm pausing.
What do you think? I think we've spoken enough, guys. I know we can talk for like hours and hours and hours like we have, but nobody wants to hear it. They can just watch the show instead of listening to us talk about it. So,
can I just say that it's very heartwarming to watch the mother-daughter scenes with my mom because she cried, I cried, we hugged, and we are like, I was like, हाँ इसी के लिए ये लिखा है mainly.
That's adorable.
For cries and hugs.
Also, I'm very like proud of our little team. I think
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
we did all right.
We had so
That's
much
the only
fun.
thing, but it's fine.
No,
Yeah,
but
but
all,
we
yeah,
had,
it's true. I think when we watched it, the sense of pride kicked in on the reading day, and when we watched it, the sense of pride really kicked in, because when you're writing, you're a little bit like, we were a little bit like in a bubble, in the sense of these are our shared experiences. Let's see whether that translates. And then seeing people's reaction to it makes you even prouder,
Yeah,
because you feel like you must have hit some honest chord somewhere for
yeah.
it to.
what I really love about this writer's room, especially, is that we talk about so much personal stuff. And it's obviously we've become friends through it, and all of that is there, but it never once feels awkward. It never once feels like, I don't want to share something. It's just the most open and lovely space, and I love all of it.
Yeah, safe space. Yeah.
Safe space. Yeah.
Yeah. Safe space till the whole country sees the our secrets on screen.
And the exit.
No, this is not fiction. All of them are facts. Okay, okay.
I have a call to make to my dad.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, girls. Love you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love you.